This is Mid-Atlantic Women in Agriculture's Wednesday webinar, Farm Bill Update. Our presenter today is Paul Goinger, Research Associate and Extension Legal Specialist. All archived presentations, along with all upcoming presentations, can be found at our website. And a special thank you to our sponsors, Mid-Atlantic Farm Credit and PNC. Thank you for listening.
So today we're going to be talking about the Farm Bill update and sort of focusing in on the commodity title and the crop insurance title of the Farm Bill. So I need to thank George Turner, and I forgot Bob Weavido on there, Steve Conley at Maryland Department of Agriculture, and Howard Leathers. I stole various slides from their slideshows that they had developed previously to put this one together. So if there are any mistakes, I'll take credit for that and won't blame those three individuals. And as a part of this, we have a crop insurance education outreach program that's part of University of Maryland Extension, Maryland Department of Agriculture, and our RMA. So if you need help finding a crop insurance agent, there's a link up at the top that will help you get to one. We also have a Facebook page where we try to post some of this information, deadlines and other materials related to the Farm Bill crop insurance as they become available. There is a link to that, and we also have developed a a Farm Bill page for this year where we put up previous presentations, useful links you'll see over to the side on the page. The link is up there, and it's in this web links box over to the side too that you can get to at any point. But we're always updating that, trying to put in the newest deadlines. I think I need to update some of the deadlines in there, but we do try to keep it with new materials as possible. And then one final plug before I get into the rest of this. We have been trying to do some Farm Bill meetings in late November, one this month, and then we're going to do 3 more in January, one at Warwick College, Community College in Salisbury. We're going to do one in St. Mary's County, and then Washington County from 7th, 8th, and 9th. There's talk of doing some more. It's typically being right now based on if there's enough demand in the county and we have funds available to do it. But we're looking at maybe adding on 1 or 2 more. So now we will get started on the Farm Bill itself and looking at the commodity title. But before we get started, there's going to be a lot of acronyms, new terms you may have not heard before. One thing I found that's really helpful with this is you can go to this link right here, and it's also in this web link side. To the side, it's a glossary of terms put together by K-State's Ag Manager. And they run you through most of the new terms in the Farm Bill. So if you don't understand a term or you forget what one means later on down the road, that's available, and it's a very helpful resource to turn to. And the final thing to think about before we get started is this is a very complex Farm Bill. It's much more risk management oriented than previous Farm Bills, and the complexity and the risk management complexity of it has led it to be dubbed by one of the chief economists on the Senate Ag Committee, full employment for ag economists. So for all the ag economists I work for out there, there's something that has created work for all of them. So getting started in all this, one of the biggest decisions that producers are going to have to make with this Farm Bill is whether or not to reallocate base acres or update their payment yields. This Farm Bill is providing a one-time opportunity to reallocate base acres and update that payment yield. Why is this going to be important? Well, payments for the Ag Risk Coverage Program and the Price Loss Coverage Program will be based off of those base acres and not planted acres. And the price loss coverage will use those payment yields to calculate the payment and not the updated not the actual yield. So with this, you're going to have this one-time opportunity to do this, to update payment yields established under the 2008 Farm Bill, so they can be changed to 90% of whatever the simple average was of your 2008 through 2000 crop year average yields. And this is done crop by crop throughout the program. So, and this one's pretty simple. If 90% of that average is higher than the current payment yield, you're probably going to want to update that. And we're going to talk about tools here in a minute that are available to help with this process. And then also at the same time, landowners are going to be allowed this one-time opportunity to reallocate their current base acres to reflect current cropping patterns. So the number of base acres you currently have cannot be increased, but that mix of how they're put between crop by crop can be switched. So you can choose to keep your current base acres or reallocate those base acres according to the mix of crops between 2009 and 2012. And so if this was one of the Farm Bill workshops and either George or Bob were doing this from FSA, they would walk you through the math involved in all of this and how this calculation is going to be done. I've decided to skip that just for time's sake, mainly because it would eat up some time, and I want to talk about some other stuff. And the other reason is there are tools available that are going to make this a lot easier for you. You'll see up on the screen I have one of the tools that FSA has available. They contracted with University of Illinois and then Texas A&M University. Each one came up with a tool to help with the Farm Bill decision-making process. And this is the University of Illinois tool that we've been using more here. And you can see down at the bottom, there is a quick calculator for updating your payment yield, and then a base acre reallocation quick calculator. This allows you to go in, put that yield data in, put your cropping patterns in, and do this, and make this decision real quickly. So it's a lot faster than trying to work through it on your own. And the deadline to do this is by April 27th. And over the summer, letters were sent out to landowners to make them aware of this and help with this process. So now let's talk about the programs that are involved in this new Farm Bill. So with this, we have price loss coverage, and I'm going to talk about PLC from now on, and then agricultural risk coverage, or the ARC program. And both of these programs replace the direct payment and counter-cyclical payments that were available under the previous Farm Bill. So we've now switched to a new set of programs. So ARC provides loss coverage at two different levels. So first we have County ARC, which provides revenue loss coverage at the county level for selected covered commodities on a farm. And then we have ARC Individual. This provides revenue loss coverage at the farm level, which is considered the sum of the producer's interest in all of the producers' ARC IC farms in the state.
Okay, it looks like we lost Paul. I'm sure he'll be logging up. There, he logged back on. Are you there, Paul?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Perfect. Sorry about that. My internet just went out for a second, so we will pick back up. The price loss coverage or PLC, its payments are issued whenever this effective price of a covered commodity is less than the reference price established by the Farm Bill, and that payment's going to be 85% of the base acres of the covered commodity times the difference between this reference and effective price. And this payment is going to be made after October 1 each year, and that's because it requires a marketing year for that covered commodity to be completed each year. So to look at that PLC calculation, kind of to give you an idea, it's 85% times the base acres times reference price minus effective price. And the effective price is always going to be the higher of the marketing year average price during that 12-month marketing year for the covered commodity, or the national loan rate for the covered commodity. If this looks familiar to anybody that participated in the countercyclical program under the previous Farm Bill, this is the countercyclical program with a different name, and the reference prices slightly changed for many of the covered commodities, but it's the same thing. So this is just kind of look at when is this, how are ARC County payments going to be made? Well, that payment is issued when the covered commodities actual crop revenue is greater, or actual county crop revenue is greater than the ARC County guarantee. I said that wrong, less than the ARC County guarantee. And this is based on county data and not farm level data. So it's going to be how is there a loss in the county and not a loss on your individual farm. ARC individual is going to look at losses on an individual farm. So how is the ARC guarantee set? Well, it's set by multiplying the 5-year moving Olympic average. With Olympic average, you toss out the high, you toss out the low, and you calculate the average based on the remaining 3 prices. By a 5-year moving Olympic average of county yield, and then times 86%. Actual county revenue is determined by that current year's marketing average. So again, it's going to take a year. Each year we're going to have a different marketing year average. These programs are always going to run about a year behind as to what the actual conditions are on the farm, multiplied by that current year's county yield. The payment, if any, is equal to the ARC County guarantee minus the ARC County revenue times 85% of the base acres. And then this is just a cap on what payments can be, but they cannot exceed 10% of that county, that benchmark county revenue. ARC individual was set up mainly not for states like Maryland. It was set up for states in the West where your yield on your farm is probably not always going to be exactly the same as yield on other farms in the county. So for some reason, other farms in the county may perform better than your farm does, and one example would be your farm is somewhere near a mountain range to where you typically could be in a drought or something, while the rest of the county is getting a lot of rain, and you may have losses at times when the rest of the county doesn't. But the idea here is actual individual revenue is less than the individual ARC guarantee, and it's based on farm level data. It's the producer's interest in all farms in the state, and that payment is going to be equal to 65% of your base acres, and it's going to be pretty much the same calculation as with county, except we're looking at what that individual on the individual farm. So it'll be the individual guaranteed revenue minus the individual crop revenue. And you use planted acres for that individual guarantee and the actual revenue. So if you notice this with a lot of these programs, they're based on this idea that times have to be bad. It's not the direct payment program. You're not going to get a payment each year. You're going to get a payment only when the conditions are met that, you know, the farm revenue is less than that guarantee, or the marketing year average price is less than the reference price. It's not going to be based on every year on a certain date there'll be a check coming to you in the mail. it's going to be based a lot more on is there been some bad year that we need to send out checks. As I said, we're moving towards more risk management and wanting you to look at crop insurance and other products as a way to protect the farm. So when does sign up for this? So you're going to have to select one of these programs. So with PLC or ARC County, it's going to be on a covered commodity by covered commodity basis. So you walk in, if you have corn, wheat, soybeans, barley, base acres, you're going to have to make a decision for each one of those programs as to what you elect to go into. If you do ARC individual, it's for all the farms on all the covered commodities on the farm. So if you have wheat, soybeans, corn, base acres, and you go into ARC individual, you're putting all of them into that. You don't go crop by crop. This decision is going to be made by March 31st, and in a lot of the programs I've been in and listened to, the consensus is this is not a decision you need to go in and make now. You need to wait into the new year, allow prices to be more established, to get an idea as to what marketing year average is going to look like for this year, get an idea of what the futures markets are predicting for next year, just to get an idea as to how these programs are going to interact for you. And once you make this decision, it's effective through the 2018 crop year, which is when the Farm Bill should expire, new one should be passed. That may or may not happen. But this one does last until the 2018 crop year. If no one does anything, you don't make any decision, the farm may not participate in either PLC or ARC for this crop year, and the producers on the farm are deemed to have elected PLC for subsequent crop year. So you lose 1 year potentially of payments, and then you're put into a program that may or may not work for you. And then they still need to enroll their farm to receive coverage. So once you make the election, you have to go back in, enroll the farm during that sign-up period with FSA. So you may be asking yourself, Paul, how do I decide which program is better for me? And we've been trying to figure out how to get the screen to share so I could show you some of this, but I'll just kind of walk you through it. You're going to need to have previous year's cropping data on each farm, yield, planted acres. You're going to need your crop insurance history. And then, like I talked about before, there are decision tools out there, and that's what we're doing at the Farm Bill meetings right now, is walking people through with FSA the final rules and regulations, and then at the same time, we're walking them through how to use the decision tool. So over here to the side, you'll see we have one marked Farm Bill Toolbox, and this is the one I've been trying to bring up. This is a site put together by the University of Illinois on how to use their tool the best. So they go through, and when you click on the ARC PLC tab, they take you through, I think it's like 5 or 10 just simple decisions that have to be made. What information do you have to gather? They have web videos on how you use this information, how you put it into the tool, and it walks you through each one of the steps from payment yield and base acre reallocation all the way to the final decision as to which program you're going to decide. When you go in, this is what the tool will look like when you go into it. What we've been suggesting to people is when they go in, click on Sample Farm, pick your state, Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, wherever you're at, the county you're in, and then go through and just pick out through the sample farms, which use USDA, National Ag Statistics data to kind of come up with what the average is for the county. And you can walk through each one of those and get an idea as to what is going on the farm, and look at how each one of these programs could potentially impact the farm. When you're in there, you're asked to make some decisions on price. You can either use Congressional Budget Office price data, USDA price data, or University of Missouri's and I cannot remember what FAPRI stands for off the top of my head, but I think it's like Food Ag Policy Research Institute, but I could be wrong. Each one of those comes up with, except for Congressional Budget Office, USDA and FAPRI come up with price projections each month. Each month those prices are put into the system, and you can go through and kind of figure out how each one of these would play out depending on where prices come out for the year. The other thing that's going to change this around a lot too is how your level of crop insurance coverage. So if you're taking out the bare minimum at 50%, it could have a potentially bigger impact if prices are low and how the programs are going to pay out. It's not going to be a simple decision. It's going to be very complex. You have to kind of sit down and kind of look at how is this going to interact, how is it going to work best for you, and it will show you how each one of these will interact crop by crop by crop on your farm. So a few last things on the commodity title. There are payment limitations still with each one of these. Cannot exceed $125,000 per crop year for PLC, ARC, marketing, loan gains, loan deficiency payments. There's one for livestock disaster programs, again capped at $125,000. And then a separate annual limitation applies to the tree assistance program. One other thing with it is there is they do AGI Test for many of these farm commodity programs. The AGI testing has been simplified. There's no longer a distinction between on-farm and non-farm AGI. Now it's just simply, did you make more than $900,000? If you did, then you may not be eligible for many of the programs. So now let's look at what are some of the changes to the crop insurance program in the 2014 Farm Bill. The biggest change with crop insurance now is it has been linked to conservation compliance. So the idea is you have to be in compliance with highly erodible land and wetlands provisions to not just to purchase crop insurance, but to receive the premium subsidy on crop insurance. So each year you're going to have to, if you're taking crop insurance out, you have to have a Form 1026 on file at FSA by June 1 of 2015, and then I believe it's June 1 for each crop year after that, just to be eligible for any crop insurance subsidy premium paid by FCIC. If you don't have that on file, you're still eligible to buy crop insurance. You're just going to pay 100% of the premium, which means it's going to be a little more expensive for you to purchase. But in many cases, you already have to have this form on file to participate in FSA programs, so you're going to have it on file. You just need to make sure it's done by June 1st of each crop year. And as I keep getting told, this shouldn't be an issue in Maryland because we have conservation plans that are typically more stringent than USDA requires. So if you're, especially in areas with highly erodible land, you should have a crop or a conservation plan in place that will meet the requirements. Another big change to the crop insurance program is now there are beginning farmer provisions for crop insurance, but unlike everything else in USDA that says 10 years is a beginning farmer, for crop insurance purposes, it's the first 5 years. Don't ask me why they made this change. I'm not quite entirely sure, but it's the first 5 years. So if you do qualify for beginning farmer, you're exempt from catastrophic insurance fees and any additional coverage policy fees. You get an additional 10 percentage points on your subsidy premium, so your insurance ends up being a little bit cheaper. If it's a history that you have worked with before, or if you've been a part of a farm before, you've got to make either decisions or physical activities on the farm, then you get to use that previous farm's production history in your new farming operation. This is just one way to help you more quickly establish yield history and other things that will be important in the crop insurance program. And if you don't have that and you need to substitute in T yields into this, instead of, you're now cut, you get from 60% of that T yield, which is what you would get normally, you get 80% of it. So you get a bump up in the transition yield as we're looking at this and as you input these in for lost years or low yield years. The other change is the Farm Bill created a new type of crop insurance program. This is Supplemental Coverage Option, SCO. SCO is a county level revenue or yield-based optional endorsement that covers a portion of the losses not covered by the same crop underlying crop insurance policy. And depending on what type of crop insurance you have, if it's yield-based, then SCO will be yield-based. If it's revenue-based, it will be revenue-based. Indemnities will be payable once a 14% loss is incurred in the county. Individual payments on revenue or yield loss will depend on your underlying coverage with those producers. So this is more a county level type program, and the idea is to provide more of a shallow loss in what's going on the farm. There's one big thing with this. If you elect to participate in ARC, either county or individual, you cannot purchase SCO even if you have an underlying crop insurance policy. Only those, it says here, only those producers that select PLC have this option. You don't have to select PLC. You just cannot be enrolled in the ARC, either of the ARC programs. You may not have any base acres on a farm, be able to enroll in PLC or ARC, but you may still have crop insurance. You still would be able to buy SCO on this. The big thing is you just can't be in the ARC program. It began with this crop year, but the endorsement is not available in all Maryland counties. For corn and soybeans, and I don't have the closing date on there, but the closing date would be the end of March, just like it is for regular crop insurance on corn and soybeans. All Maryland counties have it available, but Garrett and Allegheny counties. The reason for this is at this point, RMA did not have enough data to go off of to create a policy yet, but as they develop more information on each one of those, that may change. For wheat, it's only available in Caroline, Carroll, Dorchester, Frederick, Kent, Queen Anne's, Talbot, and Worcester counties. At least for this year, that option ended on the ability to purchase SCO ended at the end of September, but it will be available next year. It may expand counties next year. We'll have to keep an eye out on that. The final area I want to kind of hit upon where there have been changes is in the non-insured crop disaster assistance program, or NAP coverage. For those that have never used NAP, NAP is like crop insurance, but it's administered by Farm Service Agency and not RMA. And NAP is where if the crop does not have crop insurance coverage in your area, typically NAP coverage is available. The Farm Bill changed the coverage option for NAP. Prior to the 2014 Farm Bill, coverage was at the 50% of expected production. That's been changed to allow buy-up coverage at 5% increments from 50 to 65%. So the idea is to move NAP to more like a crop insurance type product. The fee is currently set at $250 per crop, or $750 per producer per county, or $1,875 max. The Farm Bill also changed the premium of 5.25% of liability. For those producers that are beginning is the first 10 years, limited resource or socially disadvantaged. You should check with FSA to see if you potentially qualify for any of those areas. There's a waiver of the service fee and a 50% premium discount, cap level, which would be the 50% level NAP coverage, is free and buy-up costs. So if you go up 5% from that, it's only 2.63% of liability. The Farm Bill also changed the payment limitation amount with NAP payments to $125,000 per entity. This amount is separate from other commodity programs received, so you may receive something under an ARC or PLC, and that's going to be separate from your NAP coverage that you're going to receive when we look at payment limitations. So this is just something that RMA has come up with to talk about at the end, to look at, to start people thinking about how good are their risk management plans. What do you want your crop insurance or NAP-based risk management plan to do for you when disasters occur? And just sort of think about, the crop value, your input costs, your operating loan, sort of things that you need to go into as you develop these. The reason I put this in there is because the Farm Bill is becoming more risk management based, and you need to start thinking about these, especially as you're making this decision on which programs to elect to participate in. So will your 2015 risk management plan be adequate to manage your 2015 risk? You may need to think about this and take a lot of time putting in how this is going to impact you. And that's the alternative to crop insurance and NAP.
Thank you for watching our archived presentation of our Wednesday webinar. If you would like to see more archived Wednesday webinars, please visit our YouTube channel, or to find a schedule of upcoming live webinars, visit our website.